School's out, I'm assuming, right? School's out for.
Yeah, school just ended. Friday was the official end of the semester, and so far, no one has complained about my grades. So as long as that keeps up, I'm done.
That's a win. That's a win. Hopefully everybody got a good grade. Hopefully nobody failed.
Yeah, I don't think I had any fails this time. I'll say everyone got the grade they earned. I'll say that much.
I mean, that's typically what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. So I see some people starting to come in now. Welcome to the last session, the last MEC session of 2020. I'm taking the next couple weeks off. So we're ending it with a bang. I'm gonna wait another maybe a minute or so for people to come in. But welcome. And no matter where you're tuning in from, if you guys put comments in the comment box, we'll be able to see them. So Bufo, I see you. What's good, Bufo? So whether you're tuning in from YouTube or Periscope, Jose, what up, man? See you coming in from Facebook. Live from Sparta, New Jersey. Is Sparta? I don't think I've ever been to Sparta, New Jersey. Good to see you too, man. Appreciate you tapping in every week. Bufo shows up, so I appreciate Bufo. YouTube gang, that boy DJ, what up? What up? All right, looks like we got some Aaron Cohen. What's going on, big dog? Cool. So today, as always, we have another special session. We got somebody else dope to share their knowledge with you. Alex, I don't think I've ever clarified how to say your last name. I'm gonna go with Fruchter.
It's a Fruchter, like hook, but with
Fruchter. Yeah. There it is. Cool. So he's much like many people in the music industry. He's a man of many hats. So he owns a label, Closed Sessions. He co-owns a label, right? You co-own it? Co-owns a label. He's a DJ. He's an educator. So I think, like a lot of people I know in the music industry, we do a lot of different things. It's hard to find somebody with one job.
Right.
Because I think we have a bunch of different interests. But beyond that, Alex, can you introduce yourself and maybe give a little background info in terms of how you got into music in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as the name said, my name's Alexander Fruchter. Some of you might know me from DJ RTC. I've been a DJ pretty much since I was a teenager, or like late teens, early 20s. How I got started, and then I run a label called Closed Sessions. Before that, I was a writer. I'm still a writer, just not as active, but I actually put out a couple pieces recently. But that was really my start in kind of, I'll go back. My first start in music was really just growing up. I'm from Chicago, a neighborhood called Hyde Park on the southeast side of the city. And there was just a neighborhood record store, Dr. Wax, that I was going to all the time and meeting more and more people and seeing hip hop just around me. And then my first entry, so first was just as a fan and getting goosebumps, listening to music, wanting to know more. I was like one of those kids going to the record store and talking to the people that work there for underground music and not just the things on MTV, and devouring the liner notes. And I think a lot of people that I meet in the industry that I vibe with are that was like one of their stories. I first started kind of working in this industry as a writer, just wanting to interview my heroes. I had a website when I was in college called Sound Slam. Someone found me and we started that site, and I was DJing parties. I started doing mixtapes. This was kind of that transition from print, not just print journalism, to online journalism, but physical music as well to digital music. So I kind of came up in that odd time period between the old way kind of failing, and then there was no Spotify yet. It was SendSpace, Napster to LimeWire to SendSpace and Zshare and these blogs. And I was involved in the blog era of music with a site called Ruby Hornet. And I was doing the writing and then DJing and doing parties and mixtapes with Chicago artists, and that snowballed into this label, Closed Sessions. And I think that was a long way to introduce myself and say how I got started. But yeah,
No, I want to. I mean, I really want to spend a decent amount of time at least kind of diving into closed sessions.
Okay.
So
Anything you want to talk about? I'm good.
what year? So what year was that? Did closed sessions start, and what was like, the driving force behind that? Like, what did you feel like you were going to bring different to the table in terms of how you guys would operate? Just kind of your mindset going into it. What was it like?
Yeah, well, closed session started first in about 2009 or 10, like winter 2009, that kind of time frame, fall, winter. But it started just because we were, like I said, in the blog era with Ruby Hornet. Part of being, I think, in part of that culture for real was trying to be first, create exclusive content. You wanted to see your name on Nah Right. I wanted to see my name on Nah Right. And we wanted to just create original content, not just reposting songs that were out. So I was DJing with the site. I thought, all right, I could have this party where I'll bring the website to life. If you like what I'm writing about, come to my party and you're going to hear that music. And then those artists will also pop up and they'll just pop up and rap. So you'll have like the cool kids come give me a bundle up as a new song to premiere right from the studio at this party, or like Kids in the Hall were around at that time, GLC, Rhyme Fest. It was just kind of a collection. And then it was Knowledge from Kids in the Hall who was like, this is a really dope party. You should have other artists kind of from out of town. My dude Currency is back and trying to do new stuff, and he's down to come. And we did a party with Currency, brought him to the studio. I met this guy, Mike, who's my co-founder of Closed Sessions with Michael Kolar from Soundscape. He was mastering my mixtapes. He's like, I'll master all your mixtapes for free. You can have a studio whenever you want, and we'll just build something together. And he saw that vision. So now it's like, great, I got a website where I can put up new music, do interviews. I love to write. And then I got this party that kind of brings that to life. And then we'll take the next step of the studio. And I wanted to be like Tony Touch or DJ Khaled, DJ Drama. I really wanted to have like my own albums. And because when we were coming up, like DJs would have record deals and they would put out like Clinton Sparks had albums, Tony Touch, real albums.
DJ Clue.
Yeah. So that was like Closed Sessions was kind of my kind of way into that. And then that's how we went just as a content site. 2009, that we got better at making documentaries. The albums got better. The parties got better. Volume 2 came around in 2012, and we put that out with MTV2, Sucker Free. They aired the documentaries. And then we kind of hit a point where almost had exhausted the model and kind of like, okay, this was fun and it's cool, but we kind of thought we'd have a TV show by now, or who knows? We didn't really have a clear idea. And in the middle of that, the Chicago hip hop scene is just blowing up. And we pivoted to like, or actually someone from InGrooves found me. This guy, Greg Mateo, partly found us and was like, you're putting all this music out on SoundCloud and you're making albums. Like, you should make this a record label and we'll distribute your music. So that was kind of the thoughts running through our mind in the beginning. But the earliest thing was we just wanted to make something dope and like do something no one else is doing.
Well, I think for the people that are watching, what you can pull from what Alex just described is you kind of have this brand, but you created different platforms and different experiences for people to tap into it, right? Like, and just that general idea, I think, is how a lot of artists today should be thinking about the experience, the story that they're trying to tell, because they have access to various platforms to tell their story and to create these experiences for fans, right? So you have your music, you have music videos, you have podcasts, you have social media, you can create short movies if you want. No Name has a book club. It's a different experience. Like, I think I see artists that, I think as a whole, I mean, I see artists here and there getting pretty creative, but I think that's how you need to think about it, because I think you want to have these different touch points for people to interact with your brand, and you want to provide as many opportunities for them to experience a part of you. So it sounds like that's essentially what you guys were doing with the parties, the documentaries, the website. What did you guys look at it like that? Was it kind of was there similar messaging or similar experiences throughout, or did you look at them as separate things?
No, I mean, I think they all played in relationship to each other. And that was part of our mentality at that time, where we didn't want to be the press where, okay, we're going to cover this scene we know nothing about, but we're going to come in now and try to tell that story. We were like, no, we're in the scene already. So we're going to tell the story from the inside looking out. So when we were doing closed sessions, we were bringing artists that had never been to Chicago before. Instead of like taking a risk and doing a concert, you should just do this party where it's already going to be packed, because it packed every month. These are really the people that, if you've never been here before, these are the people that are the ground level and that you want to meet. So we're going to provide you with relationships with the people that own the streetwear stores, that the DJs that are on the radio, the just other artists, and that was a big part of it. And then that other piece was just telling the story and putting a new song in context. What you said was great about storytelling. That was the thing. Like if Raekwon is doing this, and making a new song, it's like, okay, where does this fit in the context of his career? It's not just let's be in the studio with Raekwon and watch him smoke some weed and tell stories about Wu-Tang Clan. That's great, but there's a deeper reason to like why this song sounds the way it does. What was on his mind when he was doing the show? What do you think about when we went these different places? So that was at the forefront of our mind, that this is all one connected thing.
And then there's the name Closed Sessions. I mean, I think I kind of just heard it in that piece you just shared right there. But where did that come from, and what was the kind of messaging behind that?
With that, Currency, when we brought him in to do this first one, and he was just like, it sounds stupid, but it's as simple as he just didn't want anyone else in the room. Like he was just like, hey, you, and like I'm on the vibe of like, we just want to be here, right? No one else. So like, yeah. And at that time too, people have to remember this was a decade ago, so the access was just really starting. You know, we have flip cams. I remember the earliest closed sessions of a real like heavy video camera on my arm, and being we're just amateur people, fans, just trying to do these things. And so the idea was, we're going to bring you into these sessions. Like, these are closed, these are private studio sessions with great artists. We're going to bring you in there and let you work. And I think too, subconsciously, I'm a big Dilated Peoples fan, and I think subconsciously they have a song called Closed Sessions where DJ Beth with Planet Asia. And I just think possibly like that was also running around, but we just said it just kind of came out, and everyone was like, yep, that's it.
That sounds good. I think certain names just sound good, and you just kind of rock with it. So from then to now, like, how do you guys operate now? Like, what kind of artists do you look to work with? How do you work with artists? Like, what is the value add for an artist that, you know, works with you guys or signs with you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple questions in there. I'll talk about like the value. That's a great question. That's something I talk about with my students. I teach a class called Record Label Operations, and the first class of the semester is the value of a record label in, you know, right now 2020, next semester 2021. So you always have to question, what is the value you provide? Why are you getting a percentage of revenue or whatever the rights that we're being granted by these artists? We have to be able to justify them at all times. So there's some tangible value that we provide. I mentioned my partner is Michael Kolai from Soundscape Studios. It's a Grammy-winning engineer, and an engineer who's started and maintained and run his own studio since he was a teenager, for over 25 years. And that's a value that right there, you're getting the studio. We're providing that studio. The other talent in our staff, that's an inherent value. But also, I'm a big believer in the artists that we're starting with are very, very ground level. Some of them have little to no music out. So we're understanding like that's who we work with. And I think we have a proven track record over the last decade where we can provide, we're big into providing those fundamentals. So there's a level of teaching the music business in there. There's a bit of starting locally, think global, act local. So a label being like about relationships, introducing artists the right way, meeting the right people, the strategy. Those are the real values that we bring. We also have A1 distribution with the Orchard. We have like a lot of those checks and balances, but I think the key for if an artist is going to join closed sessions, they're really joining like for me and to work with me, Mike, and our universe. And like they see, like even me talking to you, like I think these are all values we bring to the artists outside of those core fundamentals from the studio time and the mixing, mastering, the creative outlets. There's intangible of just being part of something that has such a story. It's bigger than me too, being part of it.
So yeah, I mean, obviously talking to somebody like me, like I can understand that value, right? Like, but sometimes that's the disconnect. Like people that have been in the game for a minute can understand the value, but an artist that maybe doesn't really know the game as much doesn't understand some of those things as value. How do you communicate? Get on the same page? Do you just not work with an artist that doesn't see the value in what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
How does that work, or have you ever run into that?
Not really. I mean, I think you hit on the head. We're not the label where I'm definitely not the type of person that is scouring SoundCloud every day or on Spotify and like I'm not like, my philosophy is not cold calling and searching for a new artist. It's more being open to when an artist presents themselves and being able to recognize that. So we want to work with artists that see our value. We don't want to be thought of as like dead weight. I'm not trying to convince. There's some convincing for sure, but majority of it is artists that see we're very transparent. This is what we can do best. And there are certain artists that say that is exactly what I need. And then, we have I think that's a real key. We want to work with people that want to work with us. Noriega said something a couple years ago on Drink Champs that's been kind of my motto since I heard him say it. He's like talking about when he accepts different gigs or when he accepts different things, and he's just like, I want to be where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. And that's kind of our philosophy to working with artists as well.
Got you. So I was on Clubhouse recently, and I think on you're on Clubhouse, right?
I am a member of Clubhouse. I get on there when I get a chance to walk my dog, but I have a 12-week-old son, and it's very hard to convince my wife I'm gonna go chill on Clubhouse for a little bit. So no, right. I check in occasionally.
Yeah, no, I have it playing in the background a lot while I'm working throughout the day. But there was a it's interesting because on Clubhouse you have a very wide mix of folks, right? You have on one side of the spectrum, you have people that have been in the game for decades, and it's more of a major label experience. Where on the other side of the spectrum, you have like do-it-yourself artists that are just getting into it, and then you have like independent folks, and somewhere in the middle. So a lot of times, some of the jargon or the terms get kind of lost in translation because, and I want your perspective on this because, some of the folks in the major label system will use the word terms of like break an artist, right? I mean, break. That's not something that I really have a definition for or ever used because my mindset has always been, let's just continue to grow the business year over year, triple digits, and hopefully triple digits, but double digits at least, and it's just a constant grinding process. Even with the artists that I work, like, I don't think I broke them. There's always like higher levels to this. Right. How would you weigh in on that conversation? Is that a term you use, or is that more for, the major label system?
I mean, yeah, I know that term. But I think we just calibrate it to where we're at and what we're trying to do. With a lot of the artists, my goal is not, I'd love if they can become the next Shawn Mendes or like biggest artist in the world. But we're very upfront that probably not going to happen. And you're starting at step one. So my goal is to get in first year, like people know who you are, know your name. What is that growth? We have an artist that we started working with him in the summer. I think he had like 400 monthly listeners on Spotify. If you go to his Spotify page right now, he has 42,000. I wouldn't, he's not broken yet in the terms of like a major label may understand that. But to me, in this little first level where we need to get to and like have certain people know your name, that's to me somewhat breaking an artist. And that's like our goal is to always have artists be better off after working with us than when we started. But I also think part of like going back to your first question, just how we work with artists, part of it is really managing expectations and having these achievable goals and really drawing in with artists. Like I remember another artist the week or two before his album was going to come out, we were walking to get tacos from the studio. And I asked him, like, what is going to be success for you? Because I have my success and we've been working on this for a long time. But, you know, what do you really want to happen? And he's like, I really want to get, it'd be great if I got a Pitchfork review and a good review. And like, okay, great. Now we know the target and we're able to get a Pitchfork Best New Music and set off like these other things. For some artists, it's like, I really want to play Lollapalooza in 2 summers. So it's like, all right, let's start there, knowing that we get you to Lollapalooza, we can get maybe a booking agent, we get you a booking agent. Like I'm a big believer in like music business, like Mario Brothers, and you collect the coins, you get a one-up, you can really build a steady career there. So that's what I look at when breaking an artist.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, sometimes artists need to like temper their expectations. You know, as long as you're seeing growth on a year-to-year basis and you're doing things that you weren't doing last year, hopefully people can see, you know, the progress, the progression. You know, it's very difficult to go from 3 to 10, right? Like there's I don't even think that really exists even in the major system, because they're not even gonna rock with you if you're really on 3. But yeah, I think for the people that are listening, you know, write your goals down and check in with yourself. And, you know, when you get that end of the year Spotify rap picture, the only thing that you should be comparing it against is your last year's Spotify rap picture and see, like, you know, is there progression? Is there growth in what you're doing? You know, and fine tune your strategy from there. When you work with artists, are you just doing like a one-off project deal? Do you guys work for multiple projects? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. And it's something, no one taught me how to run a label or do any of this. I've learned it all kind of on the fly. So we've really like changed a lot of that. I think we came up with a deal system that our attorney had never seen that before. He flew to Chicago and spent a few days with us on a whiteboard and stretching out what we can provide and what is fair to get back in return to keep this going. But yeah, some artists is just one-off because that's what we see a vision for, and it's like we want to put out this exact body of work. There are a couple artists we manage, and then some artists will do like, hey, let's start with an EP and then put out a proper album. But it really goes back into where we're starting, and I think that first EP, when we do, I love to do like the EP LP deal, because you need like a warm up where you can start working with somebody that can also be low stress. Like for me to just sign a new artist and put everything into this first project, we're just taking a lot of gambles. We're not used to working with each other yet. So I see the EPs like the summer games, like the spring training, and then work out some kinks, set some really good goals, get some growth going. And then that LP is like where we bring the full, everything is there type of thing. But it varies from artist to artist.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys, I mean, the stuff that I've seen, even just visually, just looks really good. The aesthetics seems like there's a pretty strong attention to detail with what you guys do. And I think that what I want young people to know or learn is just the value of the infrastructure, because that you can't really see that. It's not something that you typically place a lot of value on, but is probably one of the most crucial aspects of getting to the next level. Because from what I've seen, it's hard for artists to recreate that themselves. Right? Like there's a whole lot of hoopla and around being independent, and now I believe is the best time ever to be an independent artist, given all the resources and stuff we have. but to put that infrastructure around what yourself, give yourself some strategy and some infrastructure to really build on.
Right.
And it seems like that's a lot of what Closed Sessions kind of has in-house. That's
right.
Is that correct from kind of the outside looking in?
Yeah, I mean that I think again that's where, you know, what's unique too about our label is if someone wanted to do like a full deep dive in Closed Sessions, pretty much every step of our development is on the internet, from those earliest documentaries to the blog stuff to like our artists putting out music. It's there and it's available. But yeah, like that's kind of been my motto. Just a way we've looked at it the whole time. Someone's working with Closed Sessions, this is what they're really going to get. And from like, we would say this all the time because back in the earlier days, there would be a lot of other content creators that would kind of take our model, and we would see pop up for a time, and every time a new one would pop up, someone would send it to me and be like, oh, you got someone on your heels. And I'm like, well, let's see if they could do 8 of these. You know, let's see in a year, are they going to still be doing this song documentary party? Because it looks easy. It's not brain surgery. It's not some novel thing. But we were just the first people that did it at a top level every single time, fully consistent and dependable. And we were like the first out with it. When other indie labels pop up or this or that, it's like, that's awesome, because no one is still going to be me or Mike. And that's really the top thing that we're bringing. Just like if I work with a PR company, I'm really working with that publicist. And if I were, you know, we choose our partners based on the people, not necessarily the name of the company. With me, it's intertwined, and I kind of might have lost your original question. But there was something else I wanted to say too about, like, I'm glad you noticed that, but how it releases the aesthetic, that's of utmost importance. And that's what those were the labels that inspired us, where I would go to the record store as a young DJ and just see the logo and be like, I've never heard of this, but I think it's going to be dope. And if it's not, I don't like it subjectively, like it's not going to be whack. Like it's going to be, artwork's going to be on point. The information is going to be on point. It's going to sound like someone cares about it. That's what all our releases, that's the key to our stuff, is like, if you see the Closed Sessions logo, you might not like it from just your own personal taste, but you'll never be able to say this album is just poorly put together. Like, this is just not good, you know?
Right. And do you get, with the artists that you bring on, are they typically open to some of the more artistic like conversations, or, you know, is there a lot of pushback, and how do you handle that? You know, because you guys have a lot of experience, you know, Mike, with the mixing and mastering and just kind of with the aesthetic and things. How do you guys handle those discussions when the artist, you know, may not understand what you're suggesting?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've learned this over my career too, of just how to communicate that better. So I think it's just communicating the ideas clearer, making sure there's a purpose to it, and you're communicating that purpose to the artist. Like, it's not any artist's favorite thing to like make something special for Spotify, or like do some of these do a free show for a certain brand. Like, maybe those aren't things that necessarily come are the best thing that they most naturally want to do. But you explain, you know, everything has a purpose, and this is why you want to do it, and then always check in back with the goal. So I'll just be clear, like, hey, these are some things. If you don't want to, if this objective is no longer important to you, then we don't need to do it. But if you want to get from point A to B, here's a Uber ride for you coming along. We could take it or pass and see what the next Uber has. That's maybe a stupid analogy, but my thing now is like, I paid a lot of dues, and I love doing that. I came up where, like, if you weren't paying the dues, there's no space for you in this field, or definitely earning respect in just the real hip hop scene in Chicago. Man, paid a lot of dues, did a lot of things that maybe didn't want to do, but were necessary. Now I have a litmus test. If an artist or someone is calling or texting me and I check my phone and it's like, my first reaction is this motherfucker. It's over. It's over. It's over. We can't work anymore because nothing's going to flow.
Right.
It's not going to work out. So it's just like, I don't want to have a fight with an artist. That's not why I'm doing this anymore. Maybe younger me, I would do that. And like, I used to always be like, no, if we don't, like going back to your breaking, it's like, if we don't pop off, I'd have everything was urgent now, which served me well in my 20s and really getting started. But I don't want to work like that anymore. And the artists we bring on, we're not here to fight with them or drag them to some arbitrary finish line. We know what you want ahead of time. And if that's where I need to order when we go to McDonald's, I'm going to suggest what you should order, then I'll fucking be the menu breakdown. But if it's just be more strategy coach, pull up the right connections, really focus on the art, really focus on the mixing, really let's roll out the social media. I'm here to do what it is. And like, I want to have fun. I don't want to yell or argue, or I shouldn't have to convince someone to want to be successful. That's not worth my time anymore.
Right. So I normally take questions at the end, and we're already halfway through. So, but somebody had mentioned in on Twitch, I think it's Yes, I Am Deandra. She said, "I wish people would elaborate on paying dues. What are the things that you have done that you feel like would go in the I paid my dues bucket?"
Oh shit. Well, I guess so. Starting out as a writer, I think part of the paying dues I did back then was writing for free. Doing things really it sounds corny, the phrase for the love, but that if you can't just start there, and I think understanding that my name meant zero, absolutely zero to anyone of value or anyone else when I first started. So it was like, how can I get my name up and how can I get my name to be respect? So doing that stuff, now if an artist is like, if I'm going to do an interview and they keep canceling or this or that, it's like, I'm not stressing it. I don't need to do the interview. But paying dues back in the day, I remember interviewing Beanie Siegel at some random hotel in Chicago, and I had to sit in his hotel room probably for like 3 or 4 hours while the man just ate waffles. And it just was like, shit, but what else am I going to really be doing? Like, this is what I need to do. DJing for zero people, DJing for artists, being the only Jewish dude or white dude in rooms, and like being less like open, doing learning about shit, just like buying. I don't know. I mean, I just think so earning your stripes. So it's not just an outward paying, but that's when you build your team, your connections. People respect your name. But I don't know. Unfortunately, paying dues means doing a lot for free outside of.
Yeah. So it's to me like, when I say I paid my dues, as a label owner or former label owner, like I did all the stuff in the beginning, right? Like I sold the merch, I drove for the guys, I was the fake security for the guys, like I booked all the room, I did all the stuff that I knew well I had to do at the time because we didn't have the money to just pay people to do it. But like I was proud eventually that I never asked anybody to do anything for us that I had never done myself.
Yeah.
Right. And then that also kind of value add because you know how much time it should take to do whatever you ask them to do. So if somebody was dragging their feet and be like, look, man, I did this for 2 years. I know how to do that. I know how to sell the merch. I know how to do social media. So I think when you paying your dues is you've put in, either work that you didn't get paid for, but had to be done. Or maybe you got compensated very little. You didn't get your actual values worth. But you had to put those building blocks in place to eventually have, a stronger foundation. So.
And like just showing people, you're serious. I carry crates for different DJs to open for them, to get my name out, doing the thing where it's like, I'm DJing the party, I'm stapling the posters to street lights. All that stuff, man, is what it's about. But I think that those were I think people that skip that step, it's not necessarily about, the money. Like that's great. If you can skip doing anything for free and you need to be paid every time, great. But it's also like I think it was Dante Ross who told me one day, like, there's these new A&Rs, but like, can they hang? Can they, if they need to be in the studio for 12 hours, can they really like grab the laptop and sit in the corner and be in there for 12 hours? And it's like, yeah, can they hang? And that's what paying dues is also about. If you're DJing a show or helping a DJ, can you stay till 3 to get, your set might be at 10. Can you stay till 3 a.m. to like really close out that party, get paid, and do things right? But those were some of the most fun times of my life. So if you skip those steps, like, you might be skipping out of just like, it's fun to make mistakes like at that time. It's fun. That was just so much fun. And then you learn, I think then you learn that value, and I think you're right too. You learn what you're asking someone else to do. I've done shows where I was a DJ for a rapper, where I drove to the show, I DJ'd the set, I collected the money, I sold the merch, like everything, and that's, but I don't want to do it again. But if it got real and I had to do it again, I'm not above. I still bag up some merch from time to time just to show myself I can still do it.
Right. No, I mean, shoot, I do a lot of things now that, that hopefully I won't have to do in a couple of years, because, we're putting ourselves in a position to hire a lot more people. Another thing that you said maybe about 10 minutes ago, just the process of you bringing your lawyer out and putting on the whiteboard and deciding like how you want things to be run fairly, how you want to do your deals maybe a little bit differently. I think this is the perfect environment for that, because the game has changed so much and it constantly changes.
Right.
What's fair to even I look at the deals that we gave artists in 2012, 2013, like it would definitely have to change for 2020, because artists are building a little bit more leverage, or they have the opportunity to build, more leverage, and artists are starting to educate themselves a little more, so, I think the deals that we were given for, the artists of Funk Volume were super favorable and super fair, because I based it off of what other independent labels were doing at the time, and then I made them better, right? So I was like, okay, let me see what they're doing, build some relationships where people were comfortable sharing that information with me. And then I was like, okay, let's make ours even better. So I knew that they were better than what other independent labels were doing, but I think relative to what options artists have now, we probably even have to change them even more so. And that's okay. But I think it's dope that you guys went through that process with your lawyer, brought out the whiteboard, and figured out how you're going to adjust for the times.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because what the game looked like 2 years ago is not what it looks like today. What are just your overall thoughts on the music industry today? Like, what kind of frustrates you and what excites you about today's music industry?
That's a good question. I don't really think about it too often. I break the music industry down into, like kind of, you said something earlier, Clubhouse being with major labels, and I have people from major labels guest talk in my classes. And I had a guy, I'm not going to say who it was or what label, but he worked at a major label, and he was talking about the marketing budget for a new artist. And when he said the actual number, I think everybody in the Zoom, all my students and me, were just like, what the, like, wow. And then I looked at what we were doing, and it's like almost a different universe. I think the indie label scene and the indie music scene versus a major label scene, they're two different worlds almost. So what's exciting to me about the world
were you shocked because the number was big, or because the number was small? Give people
it was more like, fuck, like this is what we're competing against. Like the budgets that this dude has versus the budgets that we have access to is ridiculous. I wish I had, if someone gave me that amount of money, I think it would be ridiculous. It would be over. But anyway, your question, I'm kind of veering out. What frustrates me in the music business? I think the same thing that frustrated me when I was 17 and 18. Just like some people take it as a joke, and some really bad music gets popular, and I think that's still frustrating. And then obviously the I don't know, the fastness hurt is tough. Not for me as far as working fast, because closed sessions we could work super fast. is just how quickly music comes and goes. Like it's just sad to me again as a fan of music, that we have these albums that just, they feel like they exist for a few days and then they're just kind of lost into these digital streaming platforms. I kind of just miss like an album being out and for a month, that's like what really people are talking about. That's frustrating. But other than that, those same things, most exciting, like seeing artists get their first big breaks, their first mention here, their first big show booking, first playlist. I love the like community, this like rap Twitter community that I'm part of, that I see growing and having real conversations, and like artists that make that kind of music are really starting to, I don't know if dominate's the right word, but in this there's like a real great underground, thriving underground hip hop community again that I think is awesome. But I don't know. I think just what excites me the most is closed sessions. That's why I get up every day to do it. And yeah, still having fun with it, you know. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. And just going back to the major label budget versus the indie budget, I think that, because what I always tell indie artists, like whether they go off and sign a deal or whether they stay independent, like keep that independent mindset, because the major labels definitely have an advantage. They have more money, but we're more scrappy, and I think in a lot of situations, like we know how to spend the money. We know how to stretch a dollar.
Right.
Like, you know, what we can do with $10,000 is probably what the label's going to do with $50,000, but they might be spending $250,000.
Right. Yeah. You know? It was crazy. Yeah, that was wild. But I do think too, it's kind of like misleading, I think, for everyone to think like, or for new artists to just to have this mindset that you know, I can just get a TuneCore account and I'm going to be popping, and or like DistroKid. Those are great, I think, open source platforms for distribution. This goes back to the value, but you know, TuneCore is not developing strategy with someone. They're not offering this 24/7 support. And I do think we bring a value of a distribution platform such as like the Orchard or InGrooves, where they are taking it up a notch. And like what an artist can do with a team behind them that has some strategy, some smarts, and some key relationships can really pour some gas on what you're doing.
For sure. So now I want to formally open it up to questions if you guys have any. So no matter where you're tuning in from, whether it's Periscope or Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, just type your questions in the comments and I will grab a couple before we close it out today. Close it out for the year. I think Payne is actually going to keep holding his sessions on Thursdays for next week and even the week after, but not me. So let's see.
I'm checking out. I have to submit one last article to Rock the Bells, and then I'm not doing everything's closing up till January, whatever that Monday is.
No, what's Rock? So I actually was just on the phone. My guy he's the general manager for Rock the Bells now. His name's Rasheen.
Okay.
You say you're writing something for them. Are they keeping up? Like, I haven't looked at their site in hella long, so I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but
yeah, check it out. Yeah, rockthebells.com. I think they've been mainly cover, you know, that golden era hip hop, but I've been able to write a couple articles for them. I wrote a really big piece about The Alchemist that was awesome, and because I just wasn't having fun and I wanted to have fun again, and writing was something that made me feel good. Like I just really loved to do it. I wanted to put my name back in my name in the hat. I did a really big piece about Alchemist that got a lot of love. Alchemist loved it. And then I did a similar story with Fat Joe. I do just a deep dive I just picked like a hero I want to talk to. And luckily everyone has been with the idea, but it's kind of like a peek into how they've been able to survive and what they do. And I'm finishing one right now on Raekwon and got a couple lined up for 2021. But yeah, that's Rock the Bells. They're publishing a lot of content right now.
Yeah, I know that they're going to be getting into like video content. And then, you know, getting back to events once all this COVID stuff lifts, whenever the hell that is. All
Yeah,
right.
read the Yama. I'm gonna not pronounce your name right at all, but rockthebells.com. Check out that piece on The Alchemist, or if you go to my Twitter profile, it's a pinned tweet at DJ_RTC. That's The Alchemist story. But there are some questions I'd love to talk to. Whatever you think we should go, Dame, I'll answer.
Yeah. So I saw one, the class that you teach, is it openly available? Is it on a campus? Like where can people, if possible, just let people know the class that you teach?
For sure. So I teach at Columbia College in Chicago. It's a fine arts school. We have a really great music business program. All the classes are part of the music business program there at Columbia College. It's not available online and things like that, but I do drop. People email me, or I'm available as a source. But the classes, if you're in high school or thinking about going to school for music business, Columbia College is a top music business program, and I'd love to see you there.
Can I share your Twitter? It's
yep.
It's just at DJ_RTC.
It's at DJ_RTC.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
For some reason, I can't write in the comments. I guess I'm not logged in, and I don't want to log in and lose. Like, take the chance. There you go. At DJ_RTC.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Bufo has a question. Does he feel like artists are almost obligated to choose a specific lane niche to have any form of success, genre-wise?
Great question. I mean, that's such a vague question because we don't know what any form of success. What is success to you? So I'd put that back on you. Like, you want to be the biggest artist in the world. Does success mean paying your rent? Does it mean I'm going to have a full-time job, but I want to make $500 a month, or I want to play the Metro because I just always love the Metro? I think now choosing some kind of genre just to start is a good idea, because you can win fans and have a solid fan base, and then start experimenting. If you just do everything kind of well, like, I don't know, what are people going to really attach to? That's my philosophy. Pick a lane and genre to earn. Going back to paying dues, you can't pay dues everywhere, but if you pay dues in one specific lane, form those great connections, form those relationships, and form a fan base, then you can. The best brands start super niche and then expand from there.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I see a lot of artists thinking they can do a lot of different things, and I think it's not only that, like, the sound or the niche is different, but it's like a totally separate brand. It seems like, if you can somehow like house it under the same brand and like the same messaging, I think there's a better chance of, but that'd probably be hard to do.
When you find a new restaurant, right? You go there once, you love it. When you go back, or I'll go back, tell my wife, we got to go here. I tell a friend, or I take an artist from out of town, you got to get this. What's the most important thing on that second trip is just the consistency. And I think same with the artist. Someone likes one of your songs, when they go to the next song, what's most important? Consistency. So if you start just changing up from the beginning, there's not that follow-up's not there.
Right. So is closed sessions plan? How do you guys work with producers? Do you have folks in-house, or how do you guys source production? How do the different artists?
Yeah, both. One, some of the artists we work with produce their own music. We have a couple of just self-contained people, but Boathouse is the closed sessions in-house producer. He's really dope, an amazing producer. He's on Twitch as well. So he's the litmus test. If artists, their first session is always with Boathouse. If they can't have a vibe in the studio, it's probably not going to go anywhere. And then for other artists, we open our network of producers. They bring producers. There's no set policy except like Boathouse has to fuck with you.
Dope. Okay. Let's see, another one. What was the most pivotal moment for closed sessions that you can attribute to the label's longevity to? Have you guys always done stuff outside of closed sessions, and that is why you're able to have like some of the way you approach some of your unique approaches to the label, because like the label is just one component of your personal like overall business? Or like, has the label at some points just been all you did?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's really great. Way you phrase that is really great question. I was thinking about this the other day. Closed sessions at one point, I do think that what you said is correct. How we formed really made us unique. And we have always had this is something I saw in an Alchemist interview when I was a kid, where he was talking about, when you start out having another source of revenue or something where the pressure is not always on to make money, where money is the decision behind every creative thing you're doing. So I do think having these other outlets has always helped. Being part of that blog era start always helped. Me being a DJ always helped. A pivotal moment for closed sessions that we can attribute to, there's a couple. I mean, one, we did a party with DJ Babu, and did a session, and at the party, like, we at the end of the night had to go to the ATM to get money, and it was at the time when, like, if we needed $1, my partner and I were each going and getting 50 cents and just funding everything. And I think a pivotal moment happened when we were both looked at each other and we didn't even think twice, like, dope, this didn't work out as much as we wanted, but we're still doing this song tomorrow. We're gonna put out a documentary, and we fucking got to have one of our heroes, DJ Babu, DJ our fucking party. Like, let's go to the ATM every time we're gonna do it. So that was just like a pivotal thing. Like, we're in here. And then early on, some pivotal things were Bun B agreeing to do a closed session when we very first started. I remember like texting him the address, but still in my mind, maybe he'll come, like maybe he'll show up. And then when he walked in the door 10 minutes later and was like, all right, let's go. That was 2009. We were like, okay. And then when Raekwon came and did it, we were just like, all right, we got the blog. The Action Bronsons and Currencies are fucking with us because these are our peers. And this is like what it is. They're going to do it. Come to Chicago. This is going to be great. But when we started to get the respect from people we looked up to and like people that inspired us, I'm talking to Wyclef about him being high in his apartment, getting over a breakup, making the carnival. It was just like pivotal for my soul, where it's like, all right, maybe we're on the right track. Let's just keep this going.
Right. Dope. All right. So let's do one more. Let's see. It says Swift Dreamer. Do you think the concept of mainstream artists will cease to exist as more and more independent artists gain the knowledge and increase the quality of their music?
That's another really great question. But again, like, what does that mean? When we did a session with Blue in 2011. He said in 2011, the mainstream has become the underground, but they just don't pay anymore like the mainstream. And I think he was saying this about what him even being on a major label. Think about it. Blue as an XXL freshman on a major label. Odd Future. That says when they first came out, I don't know if people are old enough to really remember that, or maybe that was like when they were really big getting into music, but that kind of like shook a lot of shit up. And they were as underground as you could get, like Odd Future, dudes named Earl Sweatshirt, Haji Beats, making crazy videos about jamming every kind of pill into your mouth. That was some underground cult music shit that was the biggest thing in music and everywhere. I think the underground is mainstream right now. If you're asking, will there cease to be like Taylor Swift level? Maybe like we'll never, I don't think we'll ever see like when Madonna was just huge, or Michael Jackson level of fame in music. But I do think the ceiling of underground has gone. Chance the Rapper, that's just crazy to me. Like at one point he was the biggest artist, one of the biggest artists in the world. I look at him as like an underground artist from like this kid I knew when he was a teenager. Like, it's so weird to me. I think those lines are fully gone. And it has nothing to do. Some of it is with the knowledge. I forgot that this person was asking about like gaining knowledge, but it's really gaining access. And like, look at how just, I think blogs changed that way back. When you started to have the biggest artists, like the biggest artists starting doing interviews with little like blogs and writers from their bedrooms, those lines blurred forever.
Yeah, I mean, so I would have just a slight, I think Chance is a great example, but I think that because we only have Chance, like I still see like there being a lot more years of mainstream versus like, because Chance, like we only really have Chance to hold up in that light, right? Like we only really, anytime we talk about an indie artist that has gone, mainstream, and there's still levels for Chance to get, right? Chance is big, but he's not as big as like Bieber or Ariana Grande. So, you know, I still, but I don't want anybody to even worry about this. Like,
Right, exactly.
I don't even want anybody to worry. I want people to focus. If independent is the way you're going, I want you guys to work on, you know, firming up your foundation, learning as much as you can, getting as good as you can at consistently putting out quality content, and just building year over year and just knocking down your own barriers and boundaries. Like,
Yeah. Well, look at this too. Like Billie Eilish. I mean, that's kind of a. I don't think you would have seen her as a superstar, maybe, but I don't know. It just seems like the superstar. Some of the superstar artists now are underground in aesthetic and style. To me,
in aesthetic and style. I mean, because I think that's because I think that a lot of major labels are looking at how independent artists are moving because they know that I mean, that heavy fan engagement, that you know, just a lot of the things that independent artists do to interact and engage with their fans would be many more times effective for a major label artist. So I think you're seeing that now. I think you're seeing, you know, Cardi B starting an OnlyFans, like, and that being some type of revolutionary thing, even though independent artists have been doing like subscription stuff for a long time with their fans. So I think you see that. I think you see more major labels borrowing or stealing some of the ideas of how independent artists and labels move.
100%.
You know,
they are stealing. I mean, they've been taking ideas since Jay-Z did that Magna Carta album with Samsung. You know, that was something that our indie artists were releasing their mixtapes with a blog, with a media outlet and a fashion company for years, and then bigger artists started doing it, and it was like, oh, look at this trend-setting way to release
right,
but it's
right.
everything is always percolating on the underground.
Yeah, because we have to figure out new ways to open up new types of revenue streams, and to, like, we have to be that scrappy in order to kind of continue to grow our business. You know, I see some independent artists doing some stuff with blockchain and saw that like a couple years ago, but I'm sure that's going to catch on eventually, you know, in the major label world. So it's interesting. It's kind of frustrating sometimes, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, I agree.
So, well, Alex, man, I appreciate you joining us. We'll have to tap back in at some point next year so you can give us an update on how you're moving, and maybe we could talk more specifically about some artists that you're working with. But thank you. So is it the same on Instagram as well? How can people reach you on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is DJ RTC without the underscore. So I messed up a long time ago and don't feel like changing either one of them. But yeah, reach out on Twitter, Instagram. My email is just alex@closedsessions.com. We have a lot of great music in 2021 from Kip Stone, Mother Nature, Boathouse, and Jack Larson. All have new stuff I'm about to drop in the new year. So yeah, I'd love to come back, and thank you for what you do and everyone that tuned in. It was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate being the last 2020 guest.
Yes, sir. So DJ Pain One will continue his sessions on Thursdays, this Thursday and next Thursday. The MEC podcast will continue. We will not stop the podcast, so that'll keep dropping every Monday. But I believe my next session is not until, hold on, let me check and make sure. My next session is not until the 11th of January. So I will still be active on social media. Let me see, where am I at? I will still be active on social media. If you're on Clubhouse, I jump into those rooms every once in a while. I try to stay away from the music ones, but sometimes I get pinged into them. Clubhouse is dope, Alex. I would encourage you to get on there. I'm sure you'll find a reason. I've been able to connect with a lot of people in the television and film space because that's what I'm trying to inch over into.
Nice.
So it's been educational.
Do you message people on there and just reach out, or you're just talking to them in the rooms?
You talk to them, and then, you know, most people have their Instagram connected. So if you want to reach out to them, I just send them a quick DM after we speak on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I got to check that. Like I said, I think, yeah, having a newborn and all that, but I'm going to walk my dog a lot and try to jump in those rooms.
There you go. Cool, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy. That goes for everybody else. And I'll see you guys soon.
All right, peace, Dan. Bye, everybody.